Did the Wild West truly belong to outlaws and sheriffs, or were there other forces at play? What if I told you that beneath the dust and saloon doors, secret societies were silently shaping the frontier? This is not a story about a hero and a villain. This is a story about a hidden brotherhood and a young reporter who stumbled upon a secret that could get him killed. He was a man from New York, accustomed to the chaos of big cities, but nothing could prepare him for the quiet, unnerving perfection of Prosperity, Wyoming. A town where every man seemed to be thriving, yet no one would talk about how.
Josh "Slick" Thorne arrived in Prosperity looking for a story about its unusual wealth. He quickly noticed something strange. A peculiar symbol, an intertwined compass and hammer, was everywhere. On a sheriff's badge, a banker's tie pin, even carved into the wall of a saloon. It was a sign of a shared allegiance, a secret handshake in plain sight. This was a story far bigger than he had imagined. But his suspicions were confirmed by an old prospector named Jasper, a weary man who spoke with the weight of a secret. "The truth here ain't for outsiders, son," Jasper warned, his voice a low rumble. "My own son, Caleb Miller, tried to find that truth and now he's gone." Jasper pulled out a tarnished metal badge with the familiar symbol, his eyes filled with a warning. "It's the mark of a secret society, a brotherhood that controls this town from the ground up," he said. "Be careful, boy. Some secrets aren't meant to be dug up. They ain't buried in the ground, they're hidden in handshakes." As Jasper disappeared into the dusty alley, a chill ran down Josh's spine. His journalist's instincts told him this was not just a social club. This was a conspiracy. A dark, unseen web had been spun beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect Wild West town, and Josh was about to pull on a thread that might unravel his own life. The most dangerous frontier wasn't the open range, it was the secrets hidden in plain sight. After Jasper's warning, Josh couldn't just leave it alone. The story of Prosperity's wealth had just gotten infinitely more interesting. He started his investigation in the only way he knew how, by digging for secrets. Following Jasper's last known path, he found a hidden cave on the outskirts of town. Inside, tucked beneath a loose rock, was a worn-out journal belonging to Caleb Miller. The pages were filled with coded notes, strange symbols, and names. But the most chilling entry read, "The compass and the hammer. They're not building a town, they're building an empire. And the foundation is buried secrets." The journal was the key. It outlined a conspiracy far beyond a simple social club. The members, the mayor, the banker, the sheriff, and the mine owner, weren't just friends. They were a secret cabal who used intimidation and blackmail to seize control. They had a hidden system to manipulate land deeds, control the flow of goods, and even fix mining claims. Anyone who got in their way, like Caleb, was dealt with quietly and efficiently. Josh knew he couldn't take them on alone. He needed a partner, someone who knew the town and had a reason to fight back. That's when he found Eleanor. She was the owner of the local saloon, a woman as sharp as a razor and with a spirit as fiery as the whiskey she poured. Josh found her polishing a glass, her eyes filled with a quiet anger. "I know who you are, Mr. Thorne," she said, her voice low and steady. "You're the reporter asking too many questions. Some of us here lost people to those questions." He showed her the journal, and her eyes widened as she saw the name of her brother, Caleb, scrawled on a page. Eleanor revealed her own story, how the society had used rigged deals to steal her family's land, a place where they had planned to build a life. Caleb had been trying to get it back. In that moment, they formed a silent partnership, two outsiders united against a hidden power. Together they began to work. Eleanor used her position to gather information, listening in on conversations and observing the members. She noticed how the mayor would subtly signal the banker, or how the sheriff would turn a blind eye to certain accidents. Josh, meanwhile, used the clues in Caleb's journal to find where the society's records were kept, the bank's secure vault. He knew that the only way to expose them was to get a physical ledger, proof that couldn't be denied. He devised a plan, using a distraction Eleanor would create during the town's annual festival. A night of music and celebration that would be the perfect cover for a crime. The night of the festival arrived, filled with the sounds of fiddles and laughter, a stark contrast to the tension Josh and Eleanor felt. While Eleanor orchestrated a spilled whiskey chaos near the sheriff, Josh slipped into the bank. The vault was a formidable challenge, but he found the lock mechanism had a specific weakness noted in Caleb's journal. With trembling hands he opened the vault and found it, a thick, leather-bound ledger. On its pages were names, transactions, and chilling notes about unfortunate disappearances. It was everything they needed. But as he grabbed the ledger, a creak of a floorboard behind him made his heart stop. It was Sheriff Merrick, his face a grim mask. "I knew you were trouble, Thorne," he said, drawing his revolver. "I've been watching you since you rode into town. You think you can just waltz in here and take what's ours?" A tense standoff ensued. But Josh, thinking on his feet, didn't argue. Instead, he made a direct plea, his voice filled with urgency. "This isn't just about money, Sheriff. It's about a man who lost his life. Caleb Miller was just trying to expose the truth. You're a lawman. You know what's right. The proof is in this book." Merrick didn't respond for a long moment, the silence broken only by the faint music from the festival outside. Then he slowly lowered his gun. "You're right," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "But you've only seen half the story." He then pulled out a folded letter from his coat pocket. "This is my son's letter," he explained. "He was a doctor and he tried to expose this society. He died in a mining accident that was no accident at all. The very people I swore to protect forced me to bury him without a word. I'm not a member, Thorne. I'm a victim. And they have my family under their thumb." The truth hit Josh like a freight train. The sheriff wasn't a villain. He was a man trapped, a pawn in a larger, more sinister game. Merrick wasn't protecting the society, he was protecting his family. With a sudden change in demeanor, Merrick pushed Josh towards a hidden back exit. "Go," he said, his eyes filled with a newfound fire. "I'll buy you some time. You have to get this ledger out. This isn't just for Caleb, it's for my son. It's for all the people they silenced." As Josh and Eleanor made their escape, the sounds of gunshots and shouting echoed behind them. It wasn't a warning, it was a battle. A battle that Merrick had just started. The chase was on, and they were running for their lives, carrying the one piece of evidence that could bring down an entire town. The moment Josh and Eleanor fled the bank, the town's quiet facade shattered. Gunshots rang out behind them as Sheriff Merrick held off his former colleagues. The chase was on. They sprinted through the dark streets, a frantic race against the very men who controlled prosperity. They were cornered in an old mine shaft, the air thick with the scent of rock and damp earth. This was it, the end of the line. But instead of surrender, a defiant calm settled over them. Josh handed the ledger to Eleanor. "You have to take this," he urged. "I'll hold them off. You have to get this to the newspapers in New York. The world needs to know." Eleanor, her eyes full of fire, didn't argue. She nodded, a silent promise in her expression, and slipped into a hidden tunnel that only locals knew. Josh turned to face the oncoming mob, a lone man ready to make his last stand. But the mob stopped. Sheriff Merrick, wounded but resolute, stood between them and Josh. "This is over," Merrick announced, his voice a gravelly command. "The truth is out. This town was built on lies, and no more blood will be spilled to keep them buried." The members of the Compass and the Hammer looked at each other, their power crumbling with every word. They were exposed, their authority evaporated. The once feared sheriff had become their judge, their jury, and their executioner. The mob dispersed, leaving Merrick and Josh standing in the silence. Merrick, his duty fulfilled, simply gave a tired nod and walked away into the darkness, a free man once more. Josh, exhausted but victorious, made his way out of the mine as the sun rose over prosperity. The town was no longer a perfect, pristine facade. It was a place of chaos, its dark underbelly finally exposed for all to see. He returned to New York, and his story became the sensation of the decade. The names in the ledger were brought to justice, and prosperity was forced to rebuild, this time on a foundation of honesty. Weeks later, a letter arrived for Josh. It was from Eleanor. She wrote that the land her family had lost was theirs again, and she was turning her saloon into a community center, a place for open conversation and genuine connection. She thanked him, signing off with a phrase that would stick with him forever. The Wild West wasn't tamed by bullets, but by truth. And he knew she was right. The Wild West was more than just a stage for legends. It was a place where hidden forces quietly shaped destinies. And sometimes the most dangerous frontier isn't the open range, but the secrets hidden in plain sight. If you enjoyed this story and you want to hear more tales of hidden truths and forgotten heroes, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell icon to never miss an episode. We've got so many more secrets to uncover.